Humans on the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are doing another tier list. This time we are looking at all TCG exclusive archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! Listen, the Konami is super hit or miss with these. There's going to be a lot of variation. We should see something in pretty much every tier here as we go. At least for me, these are going to be my personal ranks. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to have me not care as well. But yeah. Listen, it's something I want to talk about, and I saw Yassine made a video, so shout out to him. He definitely like made a video, just a general discussion, pretty much like talking about like Konami, do better with your TCG exclusive archetypes, or just go out and actually make better support for older archetypes. And I think there's still a decently long list. I make videos on the regular every couple months talking about what archetypes need support the most. So Teller Knights are still sitting out there really looking for support. Geargianos, Batterymen, like there's a lot of cool archetypes that are older that people love. They just need a big wave. Give them a wave of support. But whatever, that's like a whole discussion for another day. Today we are ranking our TCG exclusives to see how Konami's been doing as of late, or at least just in general with TCG exclusives, because there's 17 archetypes here. It's a good amount of archetypes. There might be one or two that I missed, but there really wasn't a concrete list online when I was looking for just like a list of all TCG exclusive. I really had to do research and like pick them out. But yeah, let's just go. They're randomly jostled around here, so we'll just start with the first one here, and it's Warrock. I mean, I think no matter what your argument, Warrock probably for every single person is going to fall between low C tier or high D tier. I'm going to put them in high D tier just because they came out in like what, 2021. They've gotten 7 card wave of support and they still cheeks. That's a D tier for me, man. I'm sorry. This archetype sucks. This archetype's better, like worse than most of these archetypes, and they started making TCG exclusive like hella early, like way long ago. So this one's definitely a huge whiff for me. Definitely wish these are better. I love the design. It's like the same art style as like Gravekeepers, but just never really hit. Next up we have Plunder Patrol. I think this is a solid one. I think I fall between like low A tier, high B tier. I think I'm gonna throw them in high B tier for now. Might adjust this a little later on. I just think like Plunders had a interesting wave of support, like a solid wave where you were like, okay, they just need to capitalize this, and they absolutely did. The second wave of support was awesome. Whitebeard's obviously insane. The field spell's insane. Booty's insane. We got good extra deck monsters, and then later on we got stuff like the Crow, and so definitely rounded it out well. It's just a rogue deck. It's been a rogue deck in almost every format aside from like, what was that? That was Virtual World format where the deck really struggled. But yeah, I mean, really solid. And honestly, I'm not looking for tier 1 meta threats all the time. I'm happy if the deck is just able to compete competitively for years to come. That's sweet, even if it's on a rogue level, not even like a meta level. Next up we have Libromancer. I think for me I have to put Libromancer in C tier. I do think the first wave of support is already more promising than Warrock, but we only have the first wave of support. This is the most recent TCG exclusive archetype. Like it's going to be hard to rank this one because we know we're going to get more cards in the next core set. That may change where this archetype kind of lands here, but I think this makes sense. The deck does seem a little shallow though so far. It has like one line of play, and we definitely need to see a lot. Like, I don't know, the next wave needs to really like round it out, because it feels like the deck does one thing. It's just summon the one good ritual they have, and that guy sets a trap, and then the trap is like it's like an interruption. It's fine, but like it's 2022. You got to be able to do more than that, especially since I don't think they have a 1 card way to do that. I think they have 2 card ways to do that, and that's not powerful enough. So we'll see. Next up is Burning Abyss. This is absolutely unequivocally S tier. I think this is probably, in my opinion, the greatest TCG exclusive archetype we've ever seen. I know you could argue that Spiral at points was S tier and just like literally tier 0 in the meta, but I think the biggest thing for Burning Abyss is that like Burning Abyss has been like rogue almost always. I mean, when it came out and it got its like second wave with good cards, it was like a meta, boom, meta, and then it stayed meta for a while. And even after getting hit on the ban list, we saw it being played in like 2017, 2018 as a rogue deck and like topping YCSs. This deck has always been floating around even as a rogue deck. Now it's being played as like a trap deck. Like That's what I love, is that the deck has just been able to compete over a long span of time. That is awesome, and it didn't even need like a ton of support. We haven't even really gotten a lot of Burning Abyss support like over the years to like push it. It's just been like there, and we've gotten generic cards that it's been able to take advantage of, and it's been splashed in Phantom Knights, which helps. But yeah, in my opinion, this is the best TCG exclusive archetype we've ever gotten. I think it wasn't like too broken, but it was just good, and it was able to stand the test of time. Fan favorite, definitely S tier for me. Next tier is Noble Knights. Noble Knights are probably C tier. I'm going to put it below Libromancer just because Phantom Knights or not Phantom Knights. Did I say Phantom Knights the whole time? This is Noble Knights. Noble Knights are a known quantity. We know they're kind of poop. Libromancers have like an okay start. No, it's not great, but at least they're an unknown quantity, and at least that gives me hope they could end up being better than Noble Knights. Luckily for Noble Knights, like for Noble Knights have kind of carried their name a little higher, but pure Noble Knights, like the actual TCG exclusive part of Noble Knights, like, no, that ain't it. Definitely not. Next up, we have Dream Mirror. I'm going to put Dream Mirror below Noble Knights. Like, this deck is tough. They've gotten a lot of random support cards. Maybe it's better than this. I honestly don't know them as well, but like, I still don't think they climb into B tier, no matter what. At best, you could argue they're just like higher C tier. So for me, I'm going to put them at low C tier. This is an archetype that like a lot of people like their design. A lot of people like the theory behind the deck. And that's always really cool when Konami makes decks that like their play style really matches the artwork in the lore. But unfortunately, sometimes it just like doesn't work out in terms of playability. It's cool, and it's a cool gimmick and stuff like that. It really doesn't shine through when it actually comes to competing with other decks in the game. And this one definitely fell through. We've gotten multiple waves of support. It wasn't enough. I just think the way the deck is designed to work is like inherently bricky, unless they got like some extremely broken cards. And they got some good cards, not extremely broken cards, and it never really pulled the deck out of the dredge. So there you go, C tier. Next up, we have vendread. I'm going to put vendread in low B tier. I think the vendread's a little bit better than the stuff we have in C tier right now. And I only say that partially because we have Drytrons now, and we have these good like ritual support cards, and it's kind of helped the deck climb out. But like, I'm not going to hold that against them, right? Like, they still do some powerful things. They have some very powerful end board monsters. I'm not going to hate on them, right? I think overall they're better than the guys in C tier right now. But they're probably the bottom of B tier. In fact, this almost makes me want to move Plunder Patrol up to A tier, but we'll see as we get a little further if we want to adjust anything. But yeah, I don't know a ton about Vendreads. I just know like a couple of lists that have like done well as a ritual build, and I was impressed when I saw that they actually can do some cool things. So yeah, I think low B tier is probably pretty good. Next up, we have Dangers. Oh, man, I kind of want to put a Dangers in S tier. Is that crazy? Shit, that's probably crazy. I think we need to move Plunder Patrol up. I think right now I'm going to move Plunder Patrol to A tier. And hear me out here. I think the argument here is like, Plunder Patrol's never been tier 1, but that's not really what this video is. I just wanted like good quality TCG exclusive archetypes, and I think just the fact that like ever since Plunder got their second wave, the first wave we were like, okay, cool, but they need to capitalize on it. They absolutely did. And after that second wave of support, Plunder Patrol has been essentially like a rogue deck that you need to be wary of, because if you run into that guy who's a Plunder Patrol main, he can cook you no matter what you're playing, unless your matchup's like insane, like I said earlier, Virtual World. So I think A tier is good, but it'd be like low A tier for me. Dangers, I think S tier makes sense, right? Multiple cards on the ban list, 3 different cards from the archetype on the ban list. I know it was a pure archetype, it hasn't done enough, but insanely splashable, insanely generic, 3 separate cards from the archetype on the ban list. I think that's got S tier written all over it for sure. Next up, we move to Time Thieves. Oof, man. Time Thieves are tough, man. Maybe Time Thieves are just like, if we're being generous, and like, I know it sounds bad, but like B tier, I don't even want them to really be in B tier, but looking at what's in C tier, I think I still put Time Thieves over like Noble Knights and Dream Mirror. At least they have like the generic ability to combine with rank 4 decks. We saw when like Lunalights were in their heyday, I think at the very beginning of, was that 2020 or 2019? we saw this engine being splashed in. It was pretty potent. So like it had some plays, and unfortunately the Lunalight stuff got banned because it was just too powerful. But we've seen it do some things, and like they definitely have some cool cards. Redoer himself just being a generic rank 4 is insane, especially for any deck that's playing like Shade Brigandine. So I like it. But they could have done so much more, for sure. The potential of this archetype was like insane, and they just did not capitalize on it like we wanted. But yeah, I think B tier is good for Time Thieves. Next up we have Subterror. This is A tier for me. I don't think it's quite S tier, but it's above Plunder Patrol, a deck that maybe hasn't been considered tier 1 at any point during its career, but definitely tier 2 at times, and absolutely Rogue at all times pretty much, because it's just a powerful trap deck with a 1-card engine. Really cool. I've always loved their designs. This may be my personal favorite TCG exclusive archetype of all time. No, I think it's probably top 5 archetype period for me. I'd love to see new Subterror support. Not that they need like insanely game breaking support. I just want to see the archetype rounded out a little more, right? Like the way you have to play the deck right now is just like triple Subterror, triple Fiendus, the 1 Nemesis Archer, and your hidden cities and your final battles. And that's it. And you just play it as like an engine that rotates an Omni Negate. And that's it. And like I'd just love to see a little more accessibility to some of your actual like Subterror Nemesis or Subterror Behemoth monsters, like because some of them are pretty decent. Umastrix like has been phased out of the deck in most builds, and I hate that. I want to see the deck be able to actually play more Subterror stuff. Doesn't necessarily mean they need like broken support. I just want to see like something, you know what I mean, just to help round the archetype out. Just feels like so simple. All right, Spiral's S tier, I think. Tier 0 at one point, and while I will put Burning Abyss above Spiral, Spiral's had multiple cards on the ban list as well. All 3 of these have had multiple cards on the ban list, so not super surprising. And, you know, this deck came back and then immediately got banned again. You could argue in Master Duel it's one of the better decks. Like, it's just insane how they built this deck. It's really crazy. Mutants are probably high B tier for me. They did get recent support. It is pretty decent, but I'm not quite sure if it's enough to push it into A tier for me. I don't think it's quite as good as Plunder Patrol. Maybe if it hangs around as a rogue deck for a couple formats, I might change my mind here and move it up to A tier. But for now, for me, I think higher B tier is cool. They got the new support card is good, and the fact that E-Telly's at 3 is also huge for the deck. I just need to see a little more from it. Just hasn't done a ton. Kaijus. I think, oh man, I kind of want to put Kaijus above Dangers. I know Kaijus done it on the ban list, but that's just the nature of the deck, the nature of like the types of cards. I do think the fact that like these are just need to be considered every single format, every single time you're building a side deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively, you're like, are Kaijus good? Yes or no? And even if you say no, just the fact that this is now just a staple consideration for every single side deck that any player's like probably building probably puts these in S tier. And it's been that way ever since they came out, ever since negates have been big and interruptions and towers monsters have been usable in Yu-Gi-Oh! And very easy to churn out. These cards become insane. So I love the Kaijus. I'd love to see them actually make Kaijus a full-on archetype. Like if they gave them like a 7-wave card of support and they got like a normal summon that searches a Kaiju and some other things and like some other like weird tools. You could play Kaiju Control where you just keep giving your opponent Kaijus and then like weird ways to like keep your other opponent's other monsters off the field so they have to play with the Kaiju or something. Some weird control strategy would be really funny. And of course, you're inherently playing Kaiju, so you can go second anyway. Kind of like how we have the Luna-like Kaiju decks like that randomly run around at times. But maybe just like flesh out the Kaiju archetype a little more. That would be really cool. But yeah, I think S tier makes sense. I think it's just so generic and so applicable to like every deck that, yeah. All right, Cosmos. I think, and maybe some people are going to disagree with me, I have Cosmos at the very, very top of A tier, and they are just sniffing S tier. But I think for me, personally, is when you look at Spiral, if Spiral were unbanned, they'd be the best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? Burning Abyss has been a rogue deck literally since it came out until now. Cosmos were insanely strong when they got full power. And then once they got banned, and then once they got power corrupt, the deck just fell off. I mean, when was the last time you actually were like saw a Cosmo deck perform well? Maybe it was one guy at your locals one time and had good matchups. He played against striker players and strikers struggle against stuff like Cosmos, but it just hasn't lasted the test of time. And if it had, I definitely would have moved it up to S tier easily. But I think for now, I think it's pretty fair to keep him down in an A tier. But it's the very top of A tier, like above subterror and everything. But yeah, hopefully they get support soon. It's been a long time since we've seen Cosmo support. I think they're pretty due. That would be really cool. UA. UA is definitely B tier for me. It's somewhere in here. I don't even know where. I mean, I'm going to be loose with it, but after their newest wave of support, they definitely move up for me. They were like, they just didn't do like nearly enough with what they had for a long time. And now they actually have like 1 and 2 card combos that are like, yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely. Well, I think it's all 2 card combos. I don't think they have any 1 card combos, but they do. So they can set up 2-3 interruptions like pretty easily actually. And I like that. I've always liked the mechanic. I've always loved sports personally. So an archetype based around sports is really cool. I'm with it. Definitely with it. I think UA is, you know, a fun deck. I don't even think it's probably Rogue right now, but you know, what are you going to do? And we finish up with FA here. I think FA is probably better than Dream Mirror. I don't know. It's probably somewhere around here. Let's just throw it in the middle there. I think that's pretty fair. There, it's still C tier nonetheless. It's FA, right? Like nobody wants to play this deck because just keeping up with all of the counters and the levels of everything is just brutal, and it causes problems at tournaments. So people really can't afford to play them at tournaments. Pushes you into time super easily, and you're playing a control deck, but it's not like a uber slow control deck. It's just the fact that you have to worry about keeping track of everything, and that takes extra time from your rounds and stuff. Really bad, and poor rulings, and if you have to call a judge to check on the level of something, it's just like a pain in the ass to go back and do all that. So nobody wants to really play it. Unfortunately, I do like the mechanic and how FAs work. It just doesn't work out the way we wanted it to initially. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fair list. Look, it's pretty balanced. I mean, Warrock sitting there in D tier. You could argue it could move up to the bottom of C tier, but I still just like have a vendetta versus that deck. Just the fact that it's one of the newest decks we see here, and it's still like isn't here. Wait a minute, I'm missing B Trooper. I know I got a B Trooper thing. Okay, well, you know what? I don't have B Trooper here. I'm gonna throw it in here. I think B Trooper is high B tier. You might think like, John, how is that not A tier? That's been a legit fringe meta deck over the last like 2 formats, and I would say this. The first wave of B Trooper support was cool. Very nice start. Very cool cards. Sting Lancer is awesome. The Bomber, Scale Bomber is really good as well. The Link 2 and the Link 4 are really solid. But here's the problem. The second wave did not capitalize on it. And when you look at the way the B Troopers are being played, B Troopers, it's insect. It's just an insect deck, right? The best cards in the deck are like Goki Pole, Resonance Insect. And so the B Trooper stuff is a nice engine in there, but that's not really a B Trooper deck in my opinion. And so I think for me, if I'm trying to actually classify B Troopers themselves, I'd need to see them to round out the actual B Trooper archetype a little bit more, and then to be able to play as a little bit more pure, because right now you like the deck's making like DPE, right? Just because like resonance left floats and stuff, so making DP with resonance gets you like Sting Lancer DP, which is pretty powerful. But you know, that's more of an argument for DP being awesome, not B Trooper being awesome. So I love B Trooper, but I don't think it's A tier yet. I think it's B tier for me. Maybe if that deck just lives around for like multiple years and it's still like spicy, then maybe it makes me go, you know what? It still stood the test of time. People remember the deck as B Trooper. Maybe it moves up to A tier, but I think for now it's a B tier for me. So I'd put it at the very top of B tier because I think it's better than all of these 4, but not quite A tier for me. But I don't know what happened with that one picture. Hold on, where's mine? Where did it? What? It's right here. I know I had it. I do not understand that at all. Okay, whatever. Slip through the cracks, not a problem. That's going to do it for me here today, guys, though. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me down the line, like tier lists and other shenanigans. And also, let me know any disagreements you might have here. Obviously, this is my own personal opinion and my own criteria. You might have a different base of criteria on what you're judging, right? Like, you might not put... You know, you might put Cosmo in S tier. You might move down Plunder Patrol because they've never been tier 1. You might mess around with a couple other things, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace. Whoa, that's just